Hey guys, it's Saf coming at you with another Raid Shadow Legends video, and I'm recording this video the night before what I'm expecting to be one of the crackeny, most craziest weeks we've had in a very, very long time in Raid, because we have got this new Lunar Festival Titan event. Now, we expected there to be a Hero's Path. This Hero's Path is absolutely happening. I didn't expect a 3-week Titan event. Essentially, that's what it is, according to the news. If we check, you can always read a little bit about it in the news here. It's going to last between the January the 22nd to February the 10th. So it's about 20 days. It's a very short Titan event. We're used to like 3-month Titan events or 2-month Titan events. This one is very, very short. There's going to be 1750 lunar points available. 910 the first week, 660 in the second week, and then 180 points in the last few days of the third week. You will only need 1500 lunar points, and in there contains a 5-star soul for Alatreon Blademaster. Now, if you've done the fusion and you are thinking about using the fusion for something like Fire Knight hard, then a 5-star perfect soul will help you tremendously in those hard mode bosses, not just because of the passive where you get like the damage reduction and the increased attack, but for the Phantom Touch procs on a 4-hitter champion to be able to get the shield down quicker, right? That's what the real value is potentially of Alatreon Blademaster, is you're going to be able to break the shield much quicker than a 3-hitter. The jury's still out as to whether or not she's better than, say, something like a Razzlebark team. I'm certainly going to be building it to see if it is better, but having a champion that can hit 4 times with increased speed and proc then a Phantom Touch, because at 5-star it's like 70% chance, so when you hit 4 times it's almost guaranteed that you're going to get a Phantom Touch because it does count per hit. So having a 5-star soul with a 4-hit ability that also gives you increased speed is much more powerful than just her A1, right? That's kind of like what I'm thinking in my brain. So this does make this a little bit more desirable than normal, but it's going to be expensive. The reality check here is we've just come off a summon rush and a champion chase. I deliberately didn't summon any shards for the champion chase. I worked on Mikage. My original plan was actually to fuse Mikage and do a video over the weekend about the Mikage fusion and how I was going to use it, but I actually managed to get to the required points of the champion chase without even summoning a shard because I was doing the champion training. So the mystery shards topped me up to get the 2000 because we actually had so many points just by doing these fusions, like 350 for an epic, 250 for an epic, 1000 for the 2 legendaries. So I was already 2000 points in before I even got started. And that's why now I have to wait for a clan versus clan probably before I can make Mikage, which is very frustrating, but it is what it is because we know based on the event schedule there's going to be a summon rush. So it's going to be expensive because we've just come off the back of that, and this Hero's Path no doubt will probably contain shard pulling. We don't know what it's going to be created of, but we are coming out the back of a champion training event. There's a Dungeon Divers event already on, and they normally will put a soul summoning event in with this as well. So I would imagine if I was a betting man, and I'm recording this before I know, that's why you probably might be looking at this video going, well, we already know what it is. Why are you talking about this? I will probably be, when this video comes out, working on the Hero's Path breakdown and doing the math around it, but I want to record this in advance. This is probably going to be summoning shards, summoning souls, and then either a Dungeon Divers, which I can't imagine because it will be an active event, or champion training, or it could be, and again, I'm very hesitant about this because there's an artifact enhancement event, artifact enhancement. So the very strong possibility, it could even be that it's just summoning shards and souls. I don't think that would be the case because they always like to put in a game activity with it, but it's a very strong possibility that it would just be champion training with it because that's the only thing. They don't ever really run divers and artifact enhancements alongside a Hero's Path. It's always whatever's not running. It could be a divers, and if it is a divers, you won't want to do it with Dungeon Divers because it's just so expensive to do it. But this will give us a guaranteed Alatreon, which is also a very big champion. So people are probably gonna want this champion because it's the best way to get him. He's an exclusive champion, can't get him any other way, into this Lunar Titan event, and there is a summon rush on Friday, which probably you're going to have to do some of it if you want any hope of doing this. This path is going to contain the lunar points, so you're going to have to do some of the path. You can't just skip the path and go for the summon rush. I'd imagine this path is going to contain 350 points. If it does, you're already out of the running for your 5-star soul because the 5-star soul will probably be the capstone. You need 1500, so you can only afford to skip 250. So you're going to have to do some of everything. So it's going to be a very stressful week. What I would say to people, if you miss out on the 5-star soul, That's what I would prefer to miss out more on if you've got the choice, right? If you're sitting here like me going, am I gonna have the shards? I've been saving shards since the Summon Rush of the Fusion. Then I'm looking to try and get the guaranteed champion, because that's the one thing you can't get back. You can get this soul. It might take you another 2 years, but you will get this soul eventually, right? It doesn't matter if you miss the soul. It does matter more here. And again, if you don't want to do any of it, don't buy into the FOMO, right? But what I really want to do is talk about, should you go for Alatreon? Whilst I'm working on the math when this video comes out and the hero's path, I want to do just a bit of a spotlight on probably the champion that nobody's really talking about, because we've had the fusion. Everyone can get the fusion. Everyone's talking about the fusion. We had Rathalos. Everyone got Rathalos. He's the login champion, so that's what everyone's been talking about. And of course, Void Legendaries always get a little bit more attention, especially when they're not as good as we like them to be. So everyone's been talking like a little bit how Fatalis doesn't really hit damage and it doesn't really do a much thing. And also, we know by now, if you watch my video on Nergigante Archer, she is absolutely god tier for a lot of content, including Hydra and Spider. So they have been taking the spotlight, but don't underestimate how absolutely crazy this Alatreon Blademaster is also for a lot of content. So let's do a quick breakdown of what he does. So we have an A1, attacks one enemy, has a 55% chance when you book him of increasing the duration of 2 random buffs on all allies by 1 turn. That's quite a strong A1. Most of the time, these kind of like extension effects are on a guaranteed rate, but on a 3-turn cooldown. The fact that every time you A1, you have a chance to just extend every ally's buff or 2 buffs by 1 turn is very powerful. It is a pretty good chance, a 55% chance. Sniper's not going to work on it. You can't improve that odds any further. But it does mean if you've got counterattack, for example, there's a very strong possibility to just keep extending it. Now, keep in mind that will break your speed tune, so you probably can't use this in Clan Boss. So he's not a very good Clan Boss champion, but in every other content like Hydra, extending those block debuffs if we can, extending the increased speeds, extending the increased attack, all those valuable stuff, it's really good. In normal content, wave content, if you can extend those buffs, they're really good, right? It's very handy in a lot of different situations on an A1 ability. So considering the value of a lot of different A1s, it's not too bad. Then it gets crazy. A2, Reaping Slash, attacks all enemies, places a 60% increased defense buff and a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns. The shield is equal to 30% of this champion's max HP. That's a big shield because he's got 21,000 effectively base HP. So that's going to be a good, 30,000 shield if you scale him on HP. You're not really going to want to make him do damage because he's a HP-based champion, so he's not going to hit very hard. So you might as well ramp up his defense and HP and speed and just make a giga shield. Now, this is on a 4-turn cooldown, but the big thing about this, if the target is a boss, these buffs are protected. A protected shield and a protected increased defense is insanely strong for every content piece apart from Clan Boss because of his A1. Like going into Hydra, they can't steal your increased defense buff. Great. Going into wave content, they can't get rid of your shield. Great. Going into your increased defense buff is going to keep you alive. These buffs on a 3-turn cooldown, a 2-turn duration, they're going to keep you alive and keep your team healthy and comfortable. It's very good. Then we have Cleanser Booster. What a name. Cleanser Booster. I wonder how long they thought about that one. Removes all debuffs from all allies on a 3-turn cooldown when you book it and places a block debuffs on all allies for 2 turns. If a boss is present in the current round, the buff is protected. Again, Hydra is what really comes to mind here because you're sitting there going, how many times has the boss stolen my buffs and done this and done that? He can never steal your block debuffs. You also have a fear solution. It's not great. It's on a 3-turn cooldown, but you can get rid of anything that you do take. A poison debuff. Get rid of all those if you haven't got block debuffs on. It's just such a great ability for keeping your team alive in all content areas of the game. Now, if you're not worried about increased speed, I will say as a context, this only applies to increased speed teams that need to be speed tuned. So if you're running an unkillable team, then this is an absolute great ability for getting rid of stuns and dealing with the stun issues. You also get an increased defense for traditional teams if you're running a 1-1. So if you're, in your early game or your starter account, it's a great option if you're not running it like necessarily a very pretty speed tune. But once you start getting into like your myth airs, this A1 will cause speed tuning problems if that speed buff can't stay on permanently, because how do you know that it's going to extend the speed buff when you need it to extend it? And is it going to, it's too random. Is it going to select the speed buff? It creates problems. But this ability means you have a protected block debuffs, a protected increased defense, a protected shield, and an AoE cleanse. It's very, very strong for a lot of areas of the game. He's going to be a bit like Duchess. You don't actually see Duchess one-shot in a dragon, but she's in every single dungeon team if you've got her, right? She's really good at carrying your champions through wave content, and that's what he's going to be like, because he also has a 30% speed aura in all dungeons, which is really powerful, especially if you're in the mid game and you've gone for this hero path. Maybe you've started playing raid and you really like it, you're spending some money. This is going to be very good for you if you have it in the mid game, because a lot of the time you lack speed. He's going to give you substantial amounts of speed. He's also got a base speed of 110. And then finally, we got Alatreon Divinity. This is a bit of a selfish passive. It's not very powerful, but whenever he gets a debuff, he's going to fill his own turn meter. So if you imagine, if you haven't got block debuffs up and you get dumped by poisons in Hydra, you get 4 poisons. I think it's about 4. That's going to give him 20% turn meter fill. Well, that's going to cycle him back around to his cleanser booster quicker, which is quite nice. He also heals himself by 5% whenever a debuff placed on them expires or is removed. So when he does his A3, he's also going to probably full heal himself, which is quite insane, because it's going to get rid of a bunch of debuffs off of him and it's going to heal him right back up. He's not getting talked about because he just doesn't do anything super like exotic or exciting. He doesn't one-shot things. But as an overall carry, the protected state of his buffs makes him probably very desirable for something like a Hydra team. Situations like Griffin boss, where Griffin likes to steal your buffs. Well, he can't do that in this instance, so that's going to help you stay alive further. Things of those nature where you're going to lose it. Sorath, for example. Well, she can't remove the buffs if they're protected. It's very powerful. It's very, very powerful. I just wanted to give a bit of a spotlight on Alatreon, how I think he is. I think he's a very, very strong champion. He's exclusive, so again, a bit like the Fusion, you're kind of thinking if I've got the shards and it's a good path, I can go for it, maybe. Now, the only thing I want to highlight as well is there is a event calendar now showing in Plarium Play. And this is very handy for us to look forward. If you haven't used this before, it's very useful because it kind of shows you a little bit of a preview of what's going to be in the event and also when events are going to happen. So you can see there's a Monster Hunter event here. Some of these are kind of filler, but you can see the Lunar Titan event is going to tell you there's a Champion Soul, there's Mythical Skill Tomes, there's Primal Shards, there's also a Legendary Skill Tome. So you can get a bit of a preview, and it's very handy to know what is coming up. So as I said, there is a Summon Rush happening on Friday. We can already see it here. And that contains Lunar Points, Mythical Skill Tomes, Legendary Skill Tomes, and Gems. But the one thing I want to highlight, the Monster Hero Path event. Now, by the time this video goes out, you probably would already have seen the path, but it has a Hero Soul as well, a Champion Soul here. So this path could be very expensive just based on the initial view, because it's a Champion and a Soul and Lunar Points. It's going to be potentially very expensive. But absolutely, you should check this out, because sometimes, for example, when a Prism event happens, we want to know where the prisms are going to come from. This will kind of give you a little bit of a preview, because if there are prism shards showing, it will show you in this window here where you can see these rewards that I'm jumping in between. You can see there's an artifact enhancement event starting on the 26th, and it's going to have Lunar Points, Ancient Shards. So for example, the artifact enhancement event that's going on right now, if you don't need it for fragments, definitely don't do it, because you've got another one coming up, right? There's a Summon Rush event. We have another Dungeon Diver starting on the 25th. That's going to have Lunar Points. So we get a little bit of a preview. Ice Golem Turn Attack is going to start on the 27th, right? We get a little bit of a preview to know what we've got coming, and it's very handy for you to do that. It doesn't go super deep. It only goes down to around about the 30th here. We don't have all of it known up front, but it does give us a little bit of an insight as to what we have coming up. So that is the end of the video. I wanted to give an Alatreon breakdown. I will be, probably at the time this video coming out, working hard to do the math to basically work out how many shards it's going to take us. I'm almost certain it's going to contain shards of some fashion or some point. It just depends on how much it's going to be. At this point, we've had 2 guaranteed in a hero path. We had Kira the Watcher in the fiery singles path. That one was about 22 sacred shards. And they also nuked, I believe, the void shard quality of that particular hero path. So there's 2 things we need to know. Is it going to be summoning? And also, what's the balance of the points per shard? Are they going to make void shards much better, or are they going to make sacred shards much better? We don't really know. And the other path we had was Roxham, and that was like 32 sacred shards. So I'm kind of hoping it's not on that scale of like nastiness. 32 sacred shards for this one is going to be a hard sell for a lot of people, because he doesn't do anything like super exotic. He's still very good. I absolutely want him, but 32 sacred shards is a very hard sell for me. If it's about 20, I definitely think he's worth about 20 Sacred Shards, right? If we think Elva is worth 20 Sacred Shards, some people might think she's not. I think he's worth 20 Sacred Shards purely because of the nature of his protected buffs. And of course, like I mentioned, it will have Lunar points. So if you want the 5-star soul, if you're planning on using it for Fire Knight, I suggest the 5-star soul is very good. Then that's something to look forward to as well. So we'll have to see. Hopefully we'll have all the information tomorrow. I will be working on it. There'll be another video going out later in the day with the actual hero path breakdown and everything involved. But let me know in the comments below, are you kind of worried about this week? I'm kind of worried about this week. I think it's going to be very expensive for a lot of players if they're going to try and push this whale week. They always do this mid-fusion now, like after a fusion ends before the next one, they kind of go crazy with the events, and the FOMO, especially with the Monster Hunter champions, makes it like 10 times worse. So let me know in the comments below, are you looking forward to going for Alatreon? Is that something you really want? Do you want the soul? Are you just not worried about the lunar event? Where is your thoughts? Because I do like to read the comments and kind of see what kind of feeling and people have with these events so far, in terms of just like, you know, are people really upset with them, or they feel like it's a pretty good deal? Do they like the champions? That's what I'm really curious to know. But thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.